United, together, here we stand. Sumana, Ashley, Felipe, your workplace wellness hour band, where culture meets health and wisdom takes hold. Fresh perspectives and insights unfold. Building stronger teams, brighter paths ahead. A workplace where passion and purpose are fed. Join us, engage and elevate your game. Wellness that works puts growth in the frame. Works puts growth in the frame. Mental clarity, physical strength, financial insight, tools and strategies that get it right. Real stories, real growth, real change that lasts. Practical guidance that moves you fast. Workplace wellness hour brings substance and spark. Together we flourish, together we make our mark. Building stronger teams, brighter paths ahead. A workplace where passion and purpose are fed. Join us, engage and elevate your game. Wellness that works puts growth in the frame. That works puts growth in the frame.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Workplace Wellness Hour. It is Monday, October 13th, and I'm here with Sumana Jeddy, and I am Felipe Cofiño, and we are your hosts tonight for a great topic that I gotta say has come up a lot. I know we just had World Mental Health Day on Friday, but Sumana made a great point. It's about continuing that conversation, and we should demonstrate that ourselves. So we came up with this topic, and we'll look forward to having you all here because the topic today is going to be about normalizing mental health in the workplace and how to continue World Mental Health Day conversations after this month and after that day. But before we get into that, I want to welcome some people that have already been there. And I got to say, thank you for people on YouTube. William, Rochelle, Bill, it's great to see you there. I think I saw Melissa Houston on YouTube. And so I appreciate that. It's great to see Bernardo, and I see Jackie and Christy and Noni. Oh, it's so great to see you, Noni. And I feel like I missed somebody here, so I apologize if I missed you all, but it's so great to see you all here. Please reshare the room with your friends. Let them know that we are live, especially if this topic you think would resonate with them. We want to make sure that those that think would benefit from this topic get a chance to hear it. And with that, let's do some introductions for those that maybe haven't had a chance to meet us yet. Sumana, what do you think? Let's start with you.
I think let's do that. I think before I even start, I do want to welcome all the guests here who are joining from Canada. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Woo-hoo! We get things started early because we do Thanksgiving, we do Halloween, and then there's Remembrance Day, which is in November, and then after that is when we rev up for Christmas. I know in the States things are a little different, but we've already sort of are in the holiday spirit here in many ways. Felipe, isn't that strange?
Well, yeah, for most people here in the US, that might be strange, but I just pulled out a boatload of Halloween decorations. So I'm already getting in the holiday spirit because our Thanksgiving's not until November. So it's like Halloween kicks it off a little bit because the day after is November. So, but I'm glad that you all started off earlier.
Yes.
I'm glad it's not August, like some stores try to put Christmas shit in, excuse my language, sorry, Christmas stuff in the stores, but it's like, come on, it's still hot outside. It's our summer break. Don't ruin it with like winter ideas.
No, no, no. We're not there yet. We're doing Thanksgiving, and then we do Halloween. Dubai, I'm seeing a lot of Halloween decorations everywhere. So, anyways, happy Thanksgiving to the folks that are in Canada who are joining us from there. I'm so happy to be here and take the hour to chat with you about continuing this conversation on mental health, which we did on Friday, and also thanks to all you folks who joined me on Friday. That was really cool. It was just me and a few other folks that came, and we had a really fun 1 hour conversation. And I don't know, Felipe, if you watched the replay, but I rely on you so much to do restream that when I do it myself, I'm just like, did I do this right? So the first 10 minutes of the introduction, you'll see me kind of like, am I doing this correctly? Is this streaming?
You look fine. Trust me. You did better than you think you did. Trust me.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was fun. But I just wanted to say that I am thankful to you, Felipe, Workplace Wellness Hour, this community that we've been that's been flourishing for the last 4 years, and just really grateful that I get to do this every other Monday night, and very, very happy to be here and to have these conversations and to dive into mental health. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sumana Jeddy. I started Jeddy Wellness about almost 5 years ago now. Time is flying, and what we provide is evidence-based solutions for businesses primarily. A lot of B2B is what I focus on, creating training and workshops and long-term programs for well-being, for leaders, for burnout, for how to work better, and things like that. I really love translating research into practical strategies. So that's what my background is. And I love community-driven, just endeavors like this one. That's why I keep coming back. And I don't think Felipe and I will ever stop doing this. So we're really excited to be here with you. Felipe, over to you.
Well, thank you, Sumana. And no, I definitely think we are not anywhere near stopping doing this. In fact, right before we went live, I said, Sumana, I want to plant a seed in your head. How can we do something more deeper and more with more meaning and more insights and detail and guests? Because we had this great conversation pre-live, and we went into so many great details about leadership, about trust, about so many topics and we were having such a great conversation. I'm like, these are the ones that we need to have and find a platform where we are just doing something bigger. So we're not thinking about how can we scale back. We're thinking about going bigger somehow, and of course Ashley as well. But Sumana, you have inspired me so much through all this, and I gotta say thank you to you because you've helped me stay on top of topics and things that are happening in the world that I probably would not have been privy to until much later, and I would have been behind the 8 ball, and it's impacted me in my profession. It's helped my staff. So thank you for helping me stay on top of things. You keep me sharp. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. Thank you, Felipe. I think we help each other. We don't even know we're doing it. I think you helped me and I help you. And this has been such for me, this Monday night, every other Monday night that we show up for me is never work. I've had people ask me like, oh, are you going to do this on Thanksgiving Monday? And I said, yes, why not? Like, this is an hour for me to do this, even if I'm having a turkey dinner, which I'm not. But if I were to do that, I would still step away for an hour and do this. For me, it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like fun.
Well, and remind me not to forget to do my intro after I say this, but I echo what you just said because anyone that knows me in the chat or in the replay knows that one of my passions is football, especially my home team of the Washington Commanders that used to be called something else, and they're playing Monday Night Football right now at 8 o'clock.
Oh my God! And you're here with us.
And my family's downstairs watching it, but I had no issue coming up here for the first hour of the game to be with you all because, like you said, I enjoy this. This is meaningful. This isn't just like, oh, let's go upstairs and have a beer and talk about stuff. No, this is an important topic. So, so let's get on moving forward before we.
Yes, please introduce yourself, Felipe.
Yes. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Felipe Cofiño, passionate HR executive, LinkedIn top voice, and most recently an author of a children's book called Miranda and Max. Feel free to check it out. Oh, wait, actually, I can show you the QR code right here. I created one. So feel free to check it out because the Spanish version is coming out very soon. And I owe Nick a message back if she's in the chat. I'm not sure. But I'm very passionate about LinkedIn and doing this show with Sumana. I'm also the founder of Cofiño Consulting, where I provide services like recruiting, HR administration, benefit auditing, career coaching. So if you have any need for those kind of services, check out my page on LinkedIn for Cofiño Consulting. And do me a favor, if you don't mind, I would really appreciate if you all gave me a subscription to YouTube. If you subscribe to my page there, because I really am doing a lot there to house all the stuff that we do in one place. It's easy for people to check out, listen to, go back to if they need. And one thing that's really cool, Sumana, which I didn't realize, is you know what one of the benefits is of us not having this on video and having it audio only? One of the tabs on my YouTube channel, which I never touched because I haven't really created anything, was the podcast tab. And when I tapped on it, both Careers, Chaos, and Coaching and the Workplace Wellness Hour have all their shows listed there as a podcast because they're both audio only.
I love that.
So now it's how can we make it on Spotify and Apple? So all right, more to come about that. But let's
more
get
to come
on
about that. Okay, no, good to know. I love it. I love it. This is always fun that things are happening, and I'm streaming this on Jeddy Wellness YouTube channel as well. So the folks who are joining us, this is awesome. I love it. Like let's continue talking about leaders normalizing mental health, Felipe. That's the topic, right?
Absolutely. And I want to welcome some people that joined the room. It's great to see Americo joined us and Mike LeBlanc. And yes, Mike, I did add a few new graphics. I'll be adding new graphics every show probably. So keep an eye and see if you can catch them. Lisa Fevick, it's great to see you. And Meryl Cass, of course. And yes, Kenny, I will ask you if you care about football because I know you don't. All Kenny cares about is tennis. So pick a sport, that balances tennis. Football's very different. You might like it. So anyways, let's move on and feel free to ask questions in the chat. We're going to put the link to join us on stage in a minute. But let's talk about this real quick. So leadership, normalizing mental health. I will say that this is a topic as someone who's been in leadership for going on 30 years now. It's been something that I've seen that change so dramatically. It has been something that over the years, it was something that we didn't talk about. It was something that you went to your doctor for. And if you needed time off, it was hush hush. To now, people are taking mental health days. People are talking about the fact that they're dealing with anxiety or they had a depression issue or they're dealing with different mental health issues, or they have somebody in their family with a mental health, challenge or disability, and so there's always, when we look back, it's important to see how far we come because we have come, but we still have so far to go because there's still people out there that unfortunately are judging. And for every person that doesn't judge, there's somebody that's probably judging, and they might judge you because of your ability to do the job, the ability to be logical and rational. And that's not something that people should be judged for unless they've given you reason for it. If there's a past practice, okay, that's different. But we have to be able to normalize this just like we're doing workouts and going to the gym. Oh, how's your diet? How's your workout? We talk about that all the time. And we talk about over lunch. We should be able to, not necessarily over lunch maybe, but in a comfortable setting, talk about these things. So with that, I'm going to share my Food-Based 5, and then I'm going to hand it over to Sumana. And then we're going to invite you all up on stage to share anything that you feel might be valuable to add, or a question that you think might be valuable. And what I mean by valuable is not is a good question, is your question might be valuable to somebody else because they didn't have a chance to come up, or they didn't want to come up, or maybe they didn't feel comfortable coming up. So by you taking that opportunity to come up here and share your story or your question, it's helping others in many cases, and you don't even realize it. So with that, let's start off Felipe's 5. But before we start off, Sumana, do you have anything you wanted to add or say before we jump into that?
Nope. Let's dive right in.
All right. So fairly quickly, but not too quickly, I want to talk about 5 things here that I think are important when we talk about leadership and mental health in the workplace. So first and foremost, we already talked about this. World Mental Health Day was on Friday. Let's talk about it all year round. It's important for us to make sure that we don't just do it and forget about it. It's got to be like almost a seasonal it's not a seasonal campaign. It's got to be a practice. It's got to be part of the culture. So What does that mean? It's like normal check-ins, not just awareness or during a crisis. And leaders got to model it. They got to model it and lead by example. That means showing that you have boundaries and you understand the value of a boundary, showing that you understand when you need a break because you're not at your best and you want to come back when you're at your best. Um, Integrating mental health goals into performance. And I say that carefully because helping someone grow and upskill can help their mental health. Having someone improve their time management can help their mental health. So figuring out what is causing their stress and providing a solution as a goal is a great thing a leader can do without making it about the mental health. And I'm anxious and have anxiety about this every year. Okay, let's come up with some ways to have you start planning earlier so you feel less anxious leading up to it. Just that's a very simple example, but and so it's important that we make sure that when leaders prioritize it year round, it moves from being a perk to more of a pillar of the culture. All right. Swana, I just want to give you an opportunity if you want to chime in at the end of this or after each one.
No, yeah, I think you can keep going. I'm loving this. Yes, go ahead, Felipe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second part here is lead with vulnerability and psychological safety. We talk about that a lot, but the psychological safety, a lot of leaders will say, yeah, I believe in it, I support it. But are they leading with vulnerability? Are they leading by example? And I get it. It's scary. What's my boss going to think? What are my employees going to think if I share something that's vulnerable? And I'm going to tell you from personal experience, I shared in front of all my staff in the staff meeting that I had dealt with anxiety for the last, at that point, it was like 10 years. And I shared my story of what the car accident that after that I started having anxiety. It didn't just come out of nowhere, and I didn't understand what was happening to me. That story, what it sparked was other people sharing their stories. What that did was during the pandemic, people started coming to those that shared stories earlier and asking and talking to them about their mental health. They felt comfortable. So by leading with vulnerability, it opened up the door for people to come in and feel comfortable and psychologically safe to share their stresses or their anxieties with you because they knew that you did that. And it's not ever in a way of pity or feel bad for me. It's a strength. I wanted people to see that regardless of the fact that I had to deal with horrible anxiety for a number of years, I was still able to be successful in my career. And I think it's important for leaders to show that if they talk about it, they can say, oh, wow, I had no idea my CEO ever dealt with that. But they always look so strong. They are strong. That's why. So that's an important thing to remember. All right, number 3, move away from awareness to action. And I don't want to belittle awareness. Awareness is so important, you all. It is crucial. But it's like preparing all the food for the day and never cooking it. Okay? You can be aware that you have all the ingredients for your meal, but if you don't ever take action to cook it, you're not going to be able to eat. So with mental health, it's about, yes, support it. And like I said, talk about it, but what action are you taking? Are you standing up for people when they say, hey, don't talk about that at work? Well, hold on. Let's give them space to talk about it if it's appropriate or needed, or maybe it's in a private area. But are you being an advocate if it doesn't affect you directly? Are you speaking up as a leader, saying that we need to be more aware of this and more emotionally intelligent about it? So what action are we taking? And that's the important thing, because the awareness is the step that's important, but what are we doing after that? And then the fourth one, real quick, not real quick, sorry, connect mental health to organizational culture and performance. And I kind of feel like I've been talking about that already, but healthy minds create healthy performance. A person who's not worried about their health is focused on their job, therefore they're doing a better job. So when you make mental health and physical health a priority, it sends a message and people feel more comfortable and that they can prioritize their well-being. The days of, oh, I was sick as a dog, but I went to work every day. Dude, you don't look cool. You don't look like a superstar. You look like a fool because you didn't take care of yourself. And that's one thing I'm so glad that Gen Z and even some millennials have been like, that's stupid. And I'm like, well, that's the way of showing your dedication. And I'm like, hold on a second. I think you're right. It is stupid. We don't need to push ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves so that we can be there completely. But also making mental health part of every leadership and team development conversation, checking in on them. I check on my staff twice a year. And I say staff, I mean every employee in the organization. I've been doing them right now. I just literally started it today. For the next 2 weeks, I'm meeting with every employee. I have 15-minute blocks with every single one of them with an extra half hour if they need it. Just to check in. There's no agenda. I just want to see how you doing, how you feeling about things, what can we do to make things better, what should we keep on doing, what should we stop, just what are you feeling? Give them a chance to share what they think, their concerns, their excitements, and really understand who they are. And that's just an important role. And there's so many benefits to that. All right, last one, build a culture of care through connection. Sounds easy, right? Not so much. People actually have to care. You can't fake caring. People will see through it. So connection is almost an antidote to burnout and isolation, y'all. Think about that. When people are burnt out and isolated, those connections can help get them and pull them out sometimes. And it's important to remember that. There's encouraging moments of genuine interactions, not like, hey, I have to check in. No, I don't want to check on you because I want to. Listening with intent. And managers need to learn to spot the disconnection early, because that's the emotional intelligence component that managers need to understand is valuable. If they can spot something in their team early and address it, it's a very small analogy to this big comparison I'm about to say, but it's like catching something with your doctor early and them being able to take care of it sooner than later, and it didn't get worse. If you didn't recognize it in your employees and it got worse, they might make bigger mistakes at work. They might end up making a huge mistake and quitting on you because they can't handle the stress, because nobody was helping them address it or figure out a way to get through it at work. And not that the employer has to, but that's why that word care means so much. They care enough to want to. So I did do one last slide just to put all 5 in case somebody wanted to take a screenshot, or if you wanted to write them down for any reason. Because again, these are things that are 5 things that I think are important. Doesn't mean that they're all encompassing and that's all we're going to talk about, because Sumana has so many other insights that are just as valuable, if not more. But these are just my 5 things that I think are important for leaders to think about. So with that, Sumana, I'm going to hand it over to you, and I'm going to put the link in the comments so that we can bring you up in a little bit. But Sumana, what are your thoughts on this topic? What do you want to share as far as your insights, and also any thoughts on what I shared, of course?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Lots of thoughts. I think I'll keep it brief. There's a couple of things that I just wanted to bring up as we're talking about leaders normalizing mental health, because I saw it over the weekend through some conversations and some of you know I'm from Calgary, Alberta. We're very much into oil and gas, engineering, technology, finance. These law, I see a lot of people I feel like I follow a lot, or I'm having a lot of conversations with industries, with men and women in these industries, particularly men in these industries, where the point you made about psychological safety and having conversations and normalizing that, Felipe, got me thinking that this is not happening. It's 2025, and there are individuals, millennials, in these professions that I mentioned, especially in the oil and gas tech space, where they don't want to talk about mental health. It's historically not something they are comfortable discussing. Even when I say something like, "Hey, it was Mental Health Day on Friday," I just did a LinkedIn Live. I always get this kind of like weird, "Oh, I don't really want to talk about that," and there's this kind of like sense of, "Oh, it must be easy for you being a woman, or it must be easy for you." But in these male-dominated industries, what I picked up on over the weekend was a lot of baby boomers and even millennials are stuck in this sort of what's the right word? I think it's like legacy thinking, where I think there's this feeling that I did it. In my day, I worked 80 hours, and I was not burnt out. Therefore, why should we talk about this? So there's a lot of beliefs that are rooted in their personal experiences, especially in these industries, where if you were to challenge that or model a well-being, or as someone mentioned in the chat about like storytelling, it almost comes across as like you're too weak, and we don't want to have these conversations. So I've been shut down. So before I even tell you some of my other things, I just wanted to tell you that that's something I see on a day-to-day basis, and I just wanted to maybe get your thoughts on, when we're talking about leaders normalizing mental health, there's industries where this is still not normalized. This is still a very behind the door conversation, and they don't even make eye contact with me when I tell them it's World Mental Health Day. So how do we fix this?
So you bring up such a valid point that I'm so glad you brought it up. Is it is industry specific as to how open they are, because think about healthcare, they're going to be so open to it more than others.
Love it.
But now you get into customer service roles like retail and hospitality roles and service related roles, they get it because they're experiencing it. And it's starting to seep in there more than anywhere else, as well as office jobs. I would add in there. But when you get into jobs like oil, gas, construction, these are jobs that historically, you're right, have legacies of, we don't talk about that. That's like the Latino father that I had, who was the most caring father in the world, but he didn't grow up talking about his mental health, so he's not going to talk about it. That's just something you don't do. And it wasn't because he thought it was wrong, it was just something he was told not to do. Men don't do that. And I think that there are men in there that probably are very closeted about it in those industries and talk about it with their doctor still, but they're not willing to share it at work. No, absolutely not, because
Mm-hmm.
it is looked as a sign of weakness. And when I said before, there's one person that thinks it's good, there's one person that thinks it's bad. Well, in those industries, it's probably 1 to 2 that think it's bad for every one that thinks it's good, if not more. So that's so amazing that you brought that up, because it is so relevant. And I think a lot of people would understand, in certain industries, if their father was in a certain industry, absolutely. But again, each generation makes an impact, just like the workplace, of 7 days a week. My father worked, so we went to 5 days a week. Now millennials and Gen Zs are pushing flexibility, so
Mm.
there is always a push. And I do see the mental health push, but you're right. Some industries, it's a snail crawl.
Yeah, we're not there yet. And I do appreciate the comment from Meryl. Yeah, Angie and I will talk about this all the time. And I know she's doing some really great work with her clubhouse room as well. I see Kirsty Walker, who is going to be our guest speaker, by the way, next the following Monday, so the 27th. So thank you for joining us from Calgary, Alberta. But her comment on, many people don't understand what psychological safety actually means and what it takes to create it and maintain it, particularly building a culture with it. So I love those comments. The only thing I'd like to say before I kind of hand the mic to the speakers who would like to come and chat with us, when I did the mental health event on Friday, there was a lot of great comments that were made. And the one that really stood out to me through my own research, but also some of the comments, was this idea of especially leaders in these industries. And that's not just leadership and, not just academia and healthcare, but also these industries where mental health is not seen as a valuable tool and something we can talk about, is the idea of subtracting versus adding more things. I think we're and I love, like, Felipe, your list, but there's a lot of things that we can do, evidence-based practices, where we can start to normalize mental health conversations by removing things versus adding things. So I've been thinking about this a lot, reflecting on what am I doing as well. And in the beginning of Workplace Wellness Hour season 4, we had talked about the Great Lock-In, and I had created some of my own kind of things that I wanted to do from September, October until November. So one of the things I'm doing is also subtracting how many hours I can actually spend, the resources that I can spend on social media with all the other things that are going on in my life. So some things that I feel leaders can do to subtract versus add. I think we're so good at adding new things. So do this, do this, do this. But if you take a step back and zoom out and say, well, how can I, just reduce some channels of communication? We have Slack, we have Zoom, we have emails, we have text messages, WhatsApp. Like, is there something that I can do to remove any unnecessary meetings? That could be one way. Subtracting the way we communicate, like the noise in communication. We can also subtract this idea of I should do this. In order for me to be a good leader, I should always be available for my team. And that's very unrealistic. I mean, I can't always be available for my team. I need to be able to encourage well-being and, be authentic, but also be okay to not be there when I'm not well. So kind of replacing the should versus maybe could, and inviting some of that flexibility. So that can be subtracted. The other thing I'd like to think about, or would like leaders to consider subtracting, and this is so common and I'm so bad at it and I'm getting better at it with just practice, is overcommitting, saying yes to everything. So we can start to model, and Adam Grant has this really great post from many years ago about how to say no to different events or different meetings or different tasks that are assigned to you. But building like, I think lately what I've been saying is, I don't think I can do this right now, but I can definitely do it later. So rather than a hard no, which can be hard for me sometimes, I don't give a hard no. I can say, hey, I'd love to follow up with you in 90 days. So even subtracting some of that overcommitment can allow us to feel a little bit more in tune with our mental health. And I think some of these strategies of subtraction versus addition would also help leaders in these industries of oil and gas, construction, perhaps legal professions. And I have a lot of lawyer brothers, so it's very difficult for me to talk to them about well-being when all they want to do is, I have too much to do and I don't have time for this. Is asking them something as simple as, okay, well, you can't go for therapy, you can't do all of this, but can you at least remove something from your life that's draining your energy, versus adding something, and for whatever reason that sticks, because I'm not asking them to do something, I'm asking them to remove unnecessary things, and that strategy works. So that's kind of all that I wanted to share, is just this idea of normalizing mental health by subtraction versus addition. I'll stop there, Felipe.
That was wow. You just left some great gold nuggets there, Simona. And I love the subtracting versus adding. I was making notes as you were talking, and I wrote down subtract to sustain,
Yep.
say no so you can say yes.
Woohoo!
And then I wrote down subtract the yes so you can give a meaningful yes.
Yes. Woo!
So you got me thinking. I like this. I love what you're doing. So this is, and that's true. I mean, and also we can always subtract some of the really, and I want to be careful that we don't subtract all the fun stuff or frivolous stuff that maybe gives us those breaks, like watching that ridiculous, stupid television show. I think is can be healthy, but if you're watching them all day long, not so healthy. So so maybe subtract a few of those things so that you can do more meaningful things in your life. But I love this. I want to make sure that people know that we have about half hour left, and we want to give you all a chance to join us on stage, like Mike LeBlanc has come up. And thank you to, I saw some people sneak in here. I want to say hello to, who was it? Oh, Leslie Flowers. Great to see you there. And I thought somebody else snuck in. Oh, it's Christy. I hope I pronounced that right. Welcome as well. All right. So, Mike LeBlanc, first before I give the mic to him, I just want to give him a shout out because those of you that were talking about the intro and all that, Mike wrote the song for us. I asked him if he would help us out with that, and he was very kind enough to do that. And so when you see the video, I did the pictures, but the music and the song, 100% Mike. So Mike, thank you very much for that. If you need a good songwriter, He's definitely a man to talk to. But with that being said, Mike, please ask your question or share your knowledge on this topic. The mic is yours.
Well, I'm going to ask a question that might take up the rest of the time. What do you do in a situation where the job is the problem? I was in a position for 13 years where the toxicity was so high that it really and the people that were causing that toxicity were at the top. In other words, I reported to the CIO. He was toxic. There was um, uh, harassment. Just I don't even know what you want to call it. Regular harassment. Some of the managers were actually doing sexual harassment, and it was going undealt with. Um, HR was involved in a number of these, but it still didn't get resolved. So I'm curious what your so that's the question. The advice or what I had to offer, not necessarily in relation to toxicity, but I'll get there in a second, is this idea of a scarcity mindset versus an abundant one. I think often we may feel like we don't have a choice. So, putting that extra hour in. And I'll give you an example. I was at my last job, I was stressed at that job too. And I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning. Sorry, 3 o'clock. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning. And I noticed my boss was on at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I said, we really shouldn't be up, this late. And he just kind of laughed it off. And again, that wasn't as toxic as the other job, but I think sometimes we think that we don't have a choice. We really need to start drawing the boundaries. I think that's what Jetty was or Sumana was saying about saying no or to give a better yes. I think sometimes we're like, well, I'm worried about my job or whatever, and I think often if you draw the appropriate boundaries, I mean, sometimes the best thing to say is no. But I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about dealing with toxicity.
Well, Mike, you bring up a great question, and I think that a lot of people, if they haven't experienced it, they may have in the past, or they're lucky that if they haven't. But I'm going to give you two quick answers, and then we can dive into it more. But there's two choices when it's that severe, where it's at the top. I mean, you've talked about sexual harassment, toxicity, probably ethics are in question. Obviously, people don't feel comfortable enough to speak up. That's something that if HR is involved and they're not making an impact, my recommendation, if I was your career coach, is keep on working there, but start finding another job. Find another job and then resign and get yourself out of there, because it's not going to change anytime soon if it's that integrated into the top leadership and they're a cause of a lot of it, because it's only going to grow. Those below them are going to learn from them and they're going to replicate it to their teams. And it's a very, and I'm saying that from firsthand experience. I was in a place and I didn't give up easily. I was in there for 2.5 years. I got told, stop trying to make things better, stop being so happy, and stop trying to suggest new ideas. We like things the way they are. Now, I went to a new place, which was great after that. But after being there for 5 years, I heard stories about how it was just like what you described. But the sexual harassment was coming from HR. They were the sexual harassers. And the CEO knew about it and didn't do anything. So the first choice is go out there. The second one, which I don't recommend, have you ever seen Office Space?
A long time ago.
Yeah, well, they didn't really deal with the toxicity well, and that's the way I don't recommend, because he kind of took it upon himself to put an end to that company, and that was not a good thing. He started a fire, I think. So don't let it take you over. Don't let it cause you to put your own mental health at risk. you need to get out of there. Now, I will say that that scarcity versus abundance thing, you nailed it on the head. It's where I've learned from the younger generations that it's okay to set a boundary. I'll never forget the first time that an employee came up to me after I told them to do something, and they set their boundary, and they're like, "I'm not going to be able to do that today because I will need to leave at 5 o'clock. I have friends I'm meeting, and that is my personal time, and I need to respect that." And I'm just like, "Okay." I was okay with it. I was just surprised at how like they drew the line, and they weren't disrespectful. They just meant what they said. They said, "I'm sorry, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm not gonna be able," and it was so easy. And I'm like, they didn't get upset. They didn't get defensive. They just communicated their boundary. And I think, Mike, that's what, especially our generations, the older generations, not that you're older, but I see myself as the older generation. We need to get better. We need to learn. That's something we can learn from the younger generation is how to set boundaries better with our employers in a way that is not aggressive or, you know, negative. So I want to stop there and give Sumana a chance to share her thoughts on that real quick, and then we'll give you a chance to reply.
Yeah, no, great. I love that question. I think both Felipe and I both have a personal experiences in this space. Jetty Wellness was created after a lot of me suffering through that in my own work environment. I think as you were speaking, Felipe, and I heard your question, Mike, I think what I and the job market's different now, and I think that's something we also have to consider. I do love the idea of the abundant mindset, so maybe let's focus on that. And with the way the economy is and how competitive the job market is, if I had to give this answer for in today's space, I think it's very similar to what I have done in the past. And I do agree with Felipe. If it's so bad and if it's affecting your mental health, which is then also affecting your physical health, yeah, it's probably best to just move on. So the way that I would describe, or like, I guess in terms of what to do, would be, if you know what the signs of toxicity are, like write that down. These are the things I'm noticing are the signs of a toxic work environment. So get that pen and paper and write that out for yourself. If the work culture is not changing, it doesn't matter if you go to the HR team or if you go to your vice president, nothing's going to happen. So if you know it's not going to change, at least you know for yourself. That's the action versus awareness piece. You're aware you're in a toxic work environment. Check. That's step one. The second step, I think, is then just to, and we talk about this in Workplace Wellness Hour, I think multiple times, is what are your strengths? One of the things that happened to me when I was in that toxic work environment is I really started to undervalue my self-worth, my professional efficacy. I didn't think I was good at the job. And I started to feel like, what am I even doing in healthcare? This is not the place that I'm supposed to be, even though I loved my job and I was so good at it. But the environment made me feel that I didn't belong and wasn't good at the job. My 5 years ago, I would have told her, 5 years ago, Sumana, I would have told her, hey, Sumana, leverage your strengths. What are you really good at? And at the time, it would be, I'm really good at research. I'm really good at public speaking. I'm really good at community building. I'm really good at creating videos, for example. So I would start to put that energy in, going back to what I said earlier, what drains you, what energizes you. If the environment's really sucking your energy, you start to decide for yourself, well, what can I do to leverage my strengths and what am I really good at? And it's almost like homework. You need to go home and remind yourself, I'm really good at this. Have some affirmations, do the work, take the courses, and build up your profile, and look for a job in the meantime. But build up your profile to the point where you don't feel that the job is impacting your self-worth. In toxic work environments, my biggest takeaway here, it would be, how do I protect my self-worth and how do I leverage my professional efficacy and get out of this if I can, because I can't change the environment. I can only change myself. That would be the only piece of advice, Mike, that I feel has worked for me. And if I didn't do that, I don't think I would be sitting here running the company that I'm running right now. I really had to dig in to be like, I'm really good at this, and I'm not going to let the job tell me that I'm not good at this. So that's what I did. So don't lose focus on that. Don't lose focus on what you're really good at. And I say, if any job, any relationship, even marriage, boyfriends, girlfriends, any of that is draining your mental health, it's just not worth it. It's not worth sticking around. I think I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Felipe.
No, and I think it's valuable, Swana, because it causes doubts. It causes doubt in yourself and your ability. And when you start questioning yourself, it really does impact the work you do and the ability. So, those kind of things, when we look, like I said before, I spent 2.5 years at that place that was toxic. I believed I could help them. I believed I knew what could be changed to improve it. And I believed there were employees there that deserved that. But when the top stops you and says no, it's a different game. And that's when you have to realize I'm not able to make an impact here. And it was starting to make me negative. I mean, so I was coming home every day complaining, and my wife's like, I'm here for you, but the complaining is getting too much. So, so that's why I think. So, Mike, I want to hand it back to you to see if you had any other questions or comments.
Yeah, as you were talking, my mind was going, this is all connected. And what I mean by that is, so the feeling of the mindset of scarcity is tied with the response that you start to build after being told you're not good enough in the toxic environment, so that you start to believe it. And so I think what both of you said is so key, but it also ties into this abundant mindset, because if you're saying, okay, I'm in a toxic environment, I have to look, but I have to do a few other things. I have to say, okay, this is a transactional relationship. Now, I would like it to be more, and I think we all would. We would all like to bring value and to improve, business at the company and so on. But at some point, if you're not being allowed to thrive, then you, or at least I'm really working on, when I land, if I land a full-time position next, and even then I'm going to limit my output. Like I always wanted to give 150 or whatever percent, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna limit my output to how I'm being compensated. And if I'm not being compensated, or even if I am being compensated, I'm going to meet, let's say I'm very, very well compensated, then I'll, give a little more, but I'm not going to give, 200% or 150% anymore, because the bottom line is you're not going to see that compensation.
So, Mike,
And sorry, Felipe, I just one thing.
Go ahead.
That's what started Workplace Wellness Hour. We're not giving 200%. Quiet quitting is what started Workplace Wellness Hour.
Exactly. and I'm so glad you brought that up, Mike, because that is so important. Look, I keep on saying this. I'm a forever learner, and I know I've said it a lot in this show today, but we learn from the younger generations as much as we disagree with them. And another thing that I've learned from them was that they are much better, like I said, about setting their boundaries. And what also helped me learn was the nonprofit world. When I got into nonprofit world, I finally learned that lesson, Mike. It took me 40 years to learn it, but I finally learned that, hey, I don't need to give 125% of my time to my job. 100% is what they're paying me for, and I'm giving a great 100%. That other 25%, I could be doing it to, guess what? Write my book that I've been waiting for 20 years to write, or being able to volunteer with something I actually care about, or start a business that I always thought maybe wouldn't be real. These are things that, and again, it goes into the don't overload yourself, scarcity versus abundance. Don't be that person that's making it too much for yourself. But by being able to do that with our employer and making sure that we give them 100% of great work. And if we do more, okay, it's our choice for the right reasons. But to do it every week after week after week after week, that's not sustainable and it's just not fair. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
And I wanted to add one last thing. It's not necessarily related to work, but and this is not saying that women don't need to share as well. But I think at least for my generation and maybe one a little younger, we didn't share openly as men, and I think men really need to share more openly, more authentically. Ask for help more. I actually never had a mentor because I never asked for one. Now, I mentored from afar, meaning I would watch how other people did things, but I never really asked. And as a leader, I never really asked for help. And that one position I was in for 13 years, so I couldn't ask for help from my C-suite. But I could have gone outside and asked for help and maybe even some advice. So I encourage everybody, particularly, people that are closer to our age. I'm older than you, Felipe, but I really encourage people, the men to boost their EQ.
I totally agree. And I will say this is that when I had a CEO that thought EQ was stupid, and I quietly found 3 articles of CEOs, big famous, like Jeff Bezos, I think was one of them, that actually displayed emotional intelligence, but talked about the value of it in the workplace. And I found these articles from all 3 of them, and I put them on his desk. 3 weeks later, he brought up emotional intelligence and some things from that article, so I knew he read it. So it is something that it takes sometimes people education, um, or that approval. I will say, I grew up, we didn't talk about it. I got into HR, started talking about it, had anxiety from a car accident, really started talking about it. Now you can't shut me up. So there might be a negative side to it if it gets to the point where you create a show around it and you talk about it all the time, but it's something that it goes to normalizing it. I hope that we don't. Oh my God, I'm about to say something really bad, Sumana. I hope that we don't need a show like this 10, 20 years from now. I hope
No.
it evolves into something so much more valuable.
Yes, I agree. I agree, and I appreciate the comment about we need, and it's a full circle, Mike. I think we were just talking earlier about what the conversations I had over the weekend with lots of men in these industries who don't want to talk about mental health. They're like, mental health is almost like, getting COVID. That's not as bad, but definitely more conversations on how we can get men and women and our communities to boost their EQ. I see some comments from Kinga. It just this comment about she's coaching folks on how to make their own commitments. I think that's important. These boundaries that we talk about shouldn't just come from our workplace. They also need to come from within. What are we willing to sacrifice, and when do we see when do we set that hard no to protect our self-worth? And there was a lot of comments about don't let anyone else define you from William. And in toxic work environments, just going back to your original question, I think the biggest, the strength that you can display is exactly that. I still put in, I know I still put in my hours. I did the job I had to do, but outside of that, I was conserving my resources. That's one of the theories we talk about a lot in Workplace Wellness Hour. I was conserving my resources where I wasn't putting in 200%, but enough to get by so that my performance evaluation at end of the year wasn't going to be impacted. But by the time I come home, I still have the energy to do all the other things I wanted to do, make a TikTok, make a podcast, create Jeddy Wellness. And I did that while I was still in that toxic work environment. And then finally, when I was ready to quit, I left on my own terms. And I think that's also important, leaving at your own terms versus being, obviously in some places I've heard stories of people being asked to let go. They've been let go as well, but leaving on your own terms has its has a very powerful beginning and end I think. Felipe, I know we only have 4 minutes left, so I'd love to give it to you.
Thank you. And so you gave me a topic to research here because as you all were talking, something popped into my head about, well, how have I been able to talk to guys that typically would not share their emotions at work? Because I know I've done it before and I was surprised and I realized there was a common ground. And I just did a little chat GPT right now, and there is some qualitative studies around this, but I was curious. The thing that I used to do was the men that I talked to that I was able to get through with emotional intelligence all had children, every single one of them. And I was able to talk about emotional intelligence in relation to their children. When I talked about it by their spouse, it didn't go, it didn't click. But when I talked about their children, it clicked because they're supposed to be the more emotional intelligent one as the parents, and it made sense. And when they started clicking the ideas, they started seeing how it would apply at work and in relationships. So as you're talking, I just like I said, there's a few qualitative studies that were done. I do want to do some more digging in here. It definitely says that the people in the study that were parents were able to report deeper insights into their emotions and relational dynamics. So there is some ties in there. But I love it when you all get me thinking. I'm sorry I went on a tangent there, but see, that's what happens when you all come up here and share your ideas like Mike did. You get us thinking about some great topics. So I love this. So Mike, thank you so much for coming up. I really appreciate you sharing this. Thank you for the song. Thank you for the great topics to talk about. And I think you may have even given us a few topics to maybe for future shows as well. um, so if you're not following Mike, check him out. And Mike, I'm going to carefully put you into the green room. Any last words before I move you?
No, thank you for allowing me to come up. And yes, I will be giving you lots more ideas, whether I'm
I
on the
look
stage
forward
or
to it.
not.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Mike.
Careful
Cheers.
going to the green room. Don't trip, okay, as I put you in there. All right. So, all right. Well, listen, thank you. And Kinga, it's so great to see you down there. I saw you join the room. And Jeremy, it's been great to see you as well. So I really love the comments, the questions, the engagement. I really appreciate all of you all. Sumana and I are so grateful that you all have been here today. And it's been such again, an important conversation that I have so many notes, 3 pages of notes that Sumana, when we go over this, we could definitely pull out a lot of different shows from this and dig deeper into some of the topics that came out of this, I think.
Agreed.
So, all right. Well, listen, if you want to come back in 2 weeks, we'll be here with another Workplace Wellness Hour. And guess who'll be back? Ashley Fluellen. And we also have a special guest. Who's our special guest, Simona?
Our special guest is probably still listening in the audience. Kirsty Walker from Calgary. She is a she specializes in a neurosocial science informed lens, and kind of talks more about the how do we maintain how do we create space for resolution and coaching and conflict and creating a meaningful difference in a work environment. So next week's conversation is going to be about the unseen luggage, how personal matters travel into professional spaces. That's the topic for next week. We know that this is inevitable. Personal conversations and personal life can inevitably get into our workspaces. So we're going to have Kirsty kind of talk to us and just give us her research, but also how do we mediate, how do we coach, and how do we help individuals and organizations achieve that meaningful resolution. So her specialty is in alternative dispute resolution, so ADR. That's what she does. You can look her up on LinkedIn as well. But looking forward to having this conversation on the unseen luggage, how personal matters travel into professional spaces. So that's going to happen next week, 1 hour, Workplace Wellness Hour, on the 27th.
Well, I cannot wait. It sounds like it's going to be a great topic, and she sounds going to be a great guest on our show. So come back and check out and learn about that because I think that impacts our personal life, our professional life, and everything in between. And, we have had days where our personal life has impacted us at work and days where our work life has impacted our home life. And so I am looking forward to this conversation. Jay, it's great to see you down there. I hope you didn't miss too much, but you can always catch the replay. As always, don't forget, you can follow Sumana at Sumana Jeddy Wellness. Here's a QR code for that if you want to scan your QR code or bring out your phones. And check out her website with all the great work that Jeddy Wellness has been doing out there. She's on fire right now, so a lot of great things happening there. And also, if you all don't mind, if you don't mind, give me a follow on my YouTube channel where we house all the workplace wellness podcasts as well as other shows I do as well. And it's also a great place to catch everything that we like to talk about and what's coming up. And I will do one more plug for my children's book here. If you haven't had a chance to buy this for a friend, family member, holidays are coming up, go ahead and check it out on Amazon. Of course, if you want the Spanish version, wait a few days and you'll see it then. But with that being said, I want to thank everyone again for coming. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And don't forget to talk about mental health just like we do everything else and help us normalize it, because every conversation is a step closer to normalizing that. And for the men out there, look, like I told my son, if you don't ask for help, I'm going to question your intelligence. Why? Why not? Why didn't you? Because if you don't have a good answer, it's, there's no reason why you shouldn't have. So we need to get over our egos and ask for help. All right.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you, Felipe. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, again. And if anybody wants to be a guest speaker, please tag somebody if you feel like they might add value to our show. Or if you want to come guest speak, you can do as well. We get a lot of DMs from individuals from all over the world. And sometimes it's a really cool person like Kirsty that I just met on LinkedIn. And here we are having her as a guest speaker in a couple of weeks. So fresh energy, new conversations, new vibes. So we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, Felipe, and I hope you feel better.
Thank you. All right, everyone, take care and have a great rest of your Monday. See you in 2 weeks.
United together.